Welcome back to the show. I'm Luke Rossi. Today we're talking about the hottest team in basketball, the Golden State Warriors. I'm here with Lauren Kraykaw and Devin Sadowski. Devin, tell me what you think the Warriors' chances of winning the championship this year are.
You know, I don't think they're that great. With KD injured, I just don't think him coming back in time for playoffs, he's going to be integrated into the offense as well as he was before. And they are at the top of ESPN's power rankings. They have been all year with their lineup. And so, I mean, they should be a shoo-in, but with teams like OKC and the Spurs even standing in their way of getting to the finals, I think it's going to be a pretty tough road to even get to a championship area. So,
yeah, I agree with her. I think they'll make it to the championship, but I think they'll lose to the Cavs. Even with the Warriors expected to win, I feel like they'll fall short for many reasons. For one, all the pressure in the world is on them right now. And I also think the chemistry will not be there because Curry's not going to take a back seat. Like, this is his team. He's the alpha. And I think that in the end, it's going to be Ivory versus Curry.
Right. I definitely don't think OKC is going to be a problem. I definitely think the Spurs are good. They're always good. But, you know, I think Golden State does have the best chance to win it. They've won 13 in a row. They're heating up right at the perfect time to go into the playoffs. You know, I think KD's a little bit bigger than people give him credit for to oppose the other big guys. And there's a reason that they have the 1 seed going into the playoffs.
yeah, I mean, KD, he has a bunch of size. He's a big guy, but he plays on the outside. I mean, he's an outside shooter. He is great for that, but he doesn't stand in the middle. He's not going to be able to take on people like Pau Gasol of the Spurs. He won't be able to help with LeBron if they make it to the finals. I really don't see KD being that much of an influence other than a point scorer for them.
Well, that's all the time we have. For Lauren Kraykaw and Devin Sadowski, I'm Luke Rossi. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to Heath's Hot Seat. Today we're going to be talking about Tom Brady and whether or not he's the greatest quarterback of all time. Recently he just won his 5th Super Bowl and his stats are through the roof. Today I'm joined by Misty Moorhead and Sarah Butler. Sarah, what's your take on whether or not he's the greatest of all time?
Heath, I think he's undeniably the greatest football player of all time. He has 7 AFC championships, 4 Super Bowl MVPs, and he holds 11 Super Bowl records. He was the 199th pick, and I think it's incredible that he's performed how he has the last 17 years, and I think he'll continue to do great, even in the future.
Yeah, he's been incredible. Misty, what's your take?
Well, I agree with you. He's a strong 39 years old. He's experienced. He's focused. I don't think he's going to be slowing down anytime soon. He has 5 rings. I think he's pretty golden, very promising.
Yeah, that's something that's very interesting is we're already having a debate about whether he's the greatest of all time, and his career is not even over yet. So, and there's no signs that he's really doing poorly. His last game was the Super Bowl MVP, so there's no signs that he's going downhill anytime soon. He could always fall off, similarly to Peyton Manning, where there was just a season where it all collapsed. But as of right now, we have no idea if he could get another one. Signs are pointing towards a pretty good direction for the Patriots. Even in this offseason, they've done more than most teams and set themselves up pretty well. So he could add to his resume even at this point. Sarah, what do you think?
I think you're very right, and I think even next season, I think he could do a back-to-back, hopefully. I think it'd be fun to see that, especially at 39 years old. That's a good age to retire.
It would certainly add to a ridiculous list already for Tom Brady. So that's about all we have for Heath's Hot Seat today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Hello everyone, welcome back to The Jump with James. I'm here to discuss the Razorback difference makers for the football season next year. I'm joined by Emma Foster and Brooke Earhart. So, Emma, who do you think is going to make a big impact on offense this season?
I think that this upcoming season, offensive lineman Frank Ragnow is going to make a big impact. He was named top center in the nation by Pro Football Focus after his performances against Florida and Mississippi State. He didn't allow a sack for the 2nd season in a row, and his performance in the TCU game was vital. He gave Austin Allen that key push at the goal line for the game-winning touchdown.
And I'd have to say our quarterback, Austin Allen. He definitely improved himself in 2016, and I think with his completion percentage being 61.1, I think that's a huge deal. And then following up after his brother, Brandon Allen, he just has the opportunity to prove himself and then prove that he can do that and that he can lead up to those expectations.
I think so too, and I also think Jared Cornelius is going to make a really big impact in the wide receiver position, particularly because we lost players like Drew Morgan and Keon Hatcher, huge guys to the NFL. I think they're going to be really big difference makers this season. What do y'all think about on the Razorback defense?
I think that Kevin Richardson returning is going to make a big difference. He's returning after a season-ending injury last season in his first game against Louisiana Tech. He's described as Coach Brett Bielema as one of the most productive players on the team, and he is completely healed for the spring season, which is huge because he can play safety, he can play at corner, and he can play at the nickel packages.
And I'd say our linebacker, Dre Greenlaw, he got hurt also last season during the Alabama game and the bowl game. And I think with that time to just improve himself and get better, he can practice and be even better than he was last season. And then in addition to that, Brett Bielema himself said that that was his most missed player when he was gone. And he's very versatile. He has the speed. And I think he can prove that.
I think so too. Thank y'all very much for joining us. Thank you for joining us as well with The Jump with James. We'll see you again next time.
Good afternoon and welcome to Let's Get Crackin' with Craykall. I'm your host, Lauren Craykall. I'm here today with Devin Sadowski and Luke Rossi. We're going to talk about if they agree with the Senate with the new bill that was not allowed for concealed weapons inside Arkansas stadiums. Luke, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I definitely agree. I think that fans can already get a little bit crazy. I think that adding alcohol into the mix with guns it can't really be a good idea, especially with how hostile the stadiums can get. And people always get in fights in the stadiums, and you got fans fighting fans and, fans being mad at refs and players. So I don't think mixing in guns would necessarily be a good thing.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but as someone who's grown up around guns, my dad has his concealed carry, both my grandpas do, my brother does. It doesn't really bother me, the idea of the law. I think really that the law would have required 8 hours of active shooter training, which I've done literally one, and it's so tiring. So it wouldn't have bothered me necessarily, but I get where people are coming from, where they're worried about it. I really do think that if someone was planning to do something horrible with a gun, I don't think this law allowing guns in or not allowing them is really going to stop them. So
I can see where you're coming from, but I agree with their decision just because, you're not allowed to bring umbrellas into a game if it's raining or your own food or drinks, but, let's bring guns. And so I just don't think that that's, really smart. I know they have to go through training and stuff, but like you said, alcohol, I just don't feel safe with that. But that's all the time we have today. Thank you, Devin, and thank you, Luke. And thank you for watching. Tune in next for another show.
Welcome to Babbling Butler. I'm your host, Sarah Butler, and today we're going to be talking about Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott. They've always had an incredible rookie season, and I'm just wondering what y'all think we can expect for the future season. I'm here with Misty Moorhead and Heath Land. Misty, what do you think?
Despite being rookies, their performances are all pro. If they're already this good, I'm really excited to see what the future has for them. Elliott rushed for over 1,600 yards and 15 touchdowns. Prescott holds the record for the most regular wins by a rookie quarterback and led the Cowboys to 13 season wins alongside Elliott. They're a great duo with promising futures.
Awesome. What do you think, Heath?
I think that they are poised to keep this up. They've got, most importantly, a great offensive line, which I think is the big thing here. That's the most mandatory thing for a quarterback, and especially running back. If you don't have the offensive line to do it, you're really just out of luck. Mm-hmm. So they've got that intact. They've had some pieces move around this offseason on the offensive line, but they're still looking good. And they both, especially Zeke, showed up as a good leader for his team already as a rookie. So, and especially with none of the Romo drama that may have made things a little bit weird the first season, with none of that even remotely in the area now, it's really, really his team. And so I think that he's poised to step up into an even bigger leader role and hopefully lead the Cowboys to a really awesome season for the second year in a row.
I agree. I think with Dak having over a 67% completing percentage with passes, I think that's incredible. And like you said, Zeke had over 1,600 rushing yards, and that's a lot for just one season. But thank y'all for joining us, and that's all the time that we have. I'm Sarah Butler, and this is Misty Moorhead and Heath Land, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, welcome to Emma Time. I'm your host, Emma Foster, and I'm joined by James Crone and Brooke Earhart today. We'll be talking about Tony Romo's leaving the NFL for the lead analyst job at CBS. James, why do you think Romo would leave the field for a broadcast job?
I think he wants to get healthy. I think he's gotten hurt way too much. I think he's worried about his back, considering he got broken last year. He's played with punctured lungs before. I think he's just tired of getting hurt, and I think he wants to get healthy again and ride off to the sunset that is CBS broadcasting.
Brooke, what do you think?
I think he's tired. It's embarrassing to continuously have injuries. And then he's only 36 years old. I mean, compared to Peyton Manning, who's 41 and is still playing, I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. And then in addition to the fact that he's only had 2 playoff games that he's won and no ring, and that's one of his biggest dreams. And I think he's kind of given up on that dream. So I think he's also protecting his health, but at the same time, just giving it up.
I agree completely. I think that Romo was really burned when Dak Prescott took his place, and now being in broadcast, he doesn't have the risk of being embarrassed on the field. But Brooke, will this move save his dignity considering he has no experience in broadcast?
I don't think so. Honestly, I consider it even more embarrassing and even more of a big deal because taking Phil Simms' spot is not a small job, and then not having any experience in that, and then the continuous problems he's had in the past of just being slammed, it's even worse, and that's something that he's going to have to really prove himself on.
I think it will save some of his dignity, mainly because he'll be stepping away from the Cowboys organization that's done so much for him. And this way, they'll be able to use his salary in order to get new players that are younger and better, and that can really help Dak Prescott and that incredible offensive line that the Cowboys have. I think now that without Tony Romo's salary that's just burning a hole in Dallas's pocket, they'll be able to use other things, and I think that will help a lot with his dignity, particularly in the Dallas community.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Welcome to the Sports Show. I'm your host, Devin Stadowski, and today we're discussing Joe Mixon, the OU running back who in 2014 assaulted a woman, leaving her with several broken bones in her face. Today I'm here with Lauren Craycall and Luke Rossi. Luke, what do you think?
I think what Mixon did was terrible, and I think it was violent and disgusting. But at the same time, he was a day after he was 17 basically. It was a day after his 18th birthday. He made a huge mistake that he paid for. They gave him 100 days of community service. They gave him mandatory counseling. They suspended him for a year of football. And so he had to pay for it. And I don't think that while, yes, it was terrible and he needs to get his act together and learn from it, I don't think that we should necessarily kick him out of the NFL because there are so many guys in the NFL that get away with things, but just because there wasn't a video of it, they are let off scot-free.
Mixon has not learned from his mistakes, I don't think. He has a history, and punching a girl in the face and breaking her face is not an isolated issue. It's no secret that talent trumps trouble in the NFL. You would know that, wouldn't you? But when people get out of line and engage in violence off the field, they should 100% be punished.
Right, and he was. What other issues did he have off the field?
Well, in November 2016, he got a parking ticket, and he ripped it up in shreds, got in his car, and threatened to run over the media maid.
But all charges were dropped.
No, he was still suspended for 1 game.
Yeah, for the football team, but legally all charges were dropped against him.
But still, I don't think that he should have gotten a car and threatened to run someone over. So
Right,
he
and
obviously hasn't learned.
we don't know the full story on it, but nonetheless, I don't think that we can say that a huge mistake by a kid means his entire football career should end.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'm here with Lauren and Luke, and we'll see you next week.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Misty Moorhead, your host, and this is Meddling with Misty. Today we're digging into whether or not Russell Westbrook deserves to be this year's NBA MVP. We're here with Sarah Butler and Heath Land. Everybody's talking about it, guys. Sarah, what do you think?
I think when I think of the word, when I think of most valuable player, I think of the word valuable. And I think Russell Westbrook is the most valuable player to the team that he's on right now. He almost has broken the record for the most triple doubles in one season. And also, he's directly involved with 52% of their scoring. And that is just like incredible for one of the 5 people to be involved in over half of the scoring for that team.
I completely agree with you. He's been leading the team, and the team's been very successful, and he should be the player that deserves to be most valuable because he is very valuable. Heath, what do you think?
I think Harden is the only other one that even deserves to be in the conversation. But even then, I agree with you guys. Russell Westbrook, really, I don't get the arguments against him. The only things that they have, Harden might have over him is wins, for instance. But in this situation, everybody thought that Russell Westbrook and the Thunder were going to drop out of playoff contention or something like that. And he's just single-handedly, essentially, led them to a 6th seed right now. So they're barely behind the Warriors anyways, or behind the Rockets anyways when it comes to wins, or at least seeding for the playoffs. So it's not like they're irrelevant in the win column. So that's, I get the argument, but for me, Russell Westbrook has still led them to an extremely successful season after their best player, Kevin Durant, leaving. So for me, he's the most valuable guy for his team out of anybody in the NBA and has led them to a lot. So.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Hi, my name is Brooke Earhart, and you're watching Brooks Ball Time. Today we're talking about the new women's basketball coach, Mike Neighbors. I'm here with Emma Foster and James Crone. James, how do you feel about this change?
I think it's a great change. I really liked Coach Dykes, but he just didn't get it done, even though I love anybody that wants to coach the alma mater. But he just didn't get the job done that we needed. But I think Mike Neighbors is a great coach. He's already he took Washington to a Final Four. One of his former players, Kelsey Plum, is the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history. I think all in all, it's a great hire. I think the numbers show for it.
Emma?
I agree. I think that Neighbors has the energy that our women's basketball team needs. He was 98-41 at Washington, and I think that he really has what it takes to take our women's basketball team to the next level.
So since leaving the Washington Huskies and considering that he's kind of coached here before, how do you guys feel this affects his loyalty to the University of Arkansas?
I don't think that it affects it at all. When he was coaching at Arkansas before, he was just an assistant coach. He wasn't in that place that he needed to be a head coach. So he left here for Washington as an assistant coach at Washington and then as their head coach. And now he's coming back to what he has called his dream job as head coach of the women's basketball team at Arkansas. He's from here. His daughter goes here. I think that this is where he wants to be.
I think so too. I just talked to his daughter last week when he got hired, and she is extremely excited. You can tell that the entire family is excited that he's here. My best friend's from Greenwood, Arkansas, which is where he's from, and all of them are extremely thrilled. They all know that Coach Neighbors is going to do a great job. So I think that just from everybody that I've been hearing from, everybody's super excited, and you can just tell that he and his family are extremely loyal to the university.
Yeah, I think his loyalty will be tested with him leaving Washington and bringing them so close to a title, but he can prove that to Arkansas. So thanks for joining us here on Brooks Ball Time, and thank our guests, Emma Foster and James Crone. We'll see you next time.